Dramily.com, unlimited drama series.
The Rusty Spoon should have been packed tonight. Should have been filled with the laughter of family, the clink of champagne glasses, the warm buzz of people celebrating my dream finally coming true. Instead, I'm standing behind the bar at 9:30 p.m., polishing the same wine glass for the third time, watching the last customer, Mrs. Henderson from down the street, finish her apple pie in blessed silence. 27 people showed up to my grand opening. 27. Not counting staff. My wife Sarah didn't come. My brother Danny didn't come. My parents didn't come. Hell, even my college roommate Mike, who swore he'd drive up from Philadelphia, was a no-show. They were all at Danny's promotion party across town instead. Some fancy tech company made him a senior consultant, and apparently that trumped 5 years of me busting my ass to turn this place from a condemned diner into something special. "Everything all right, Tommy?" Mrs. Henderson asks, counting out exact change for her bill. "Perfect," I lie, forcing a smile. "Thanks for coming tonight. It means everything." She pats my hand with her weathered fingers. "This place is going to be wonderful, dear. Give it time." Time. Right. I've already given it 5 years, my entire savings account, and my marriage, judging by the way Sarah's been looking at me lately. Like I'm some kind of failure she's embarrassed to be associated with. After Mrs. Henderson leaves, I lock the door and flip the sign to closed. The dining room looks beautiful in the dim light. Exposed brick walls, Edison bulb fixtures I installed myself, tables made from reclaimed wood that cost me 3 months of weekend trips to salvage yards. Every detail planned and executed with the kind of obsessive care that used to make Sarah roll her eyes. My phone buzzes. A text from Sarah. "We need to talk about the restaurant when you get home." I stare at the message for a long moment, then type back, "Anyone who didn't show up tonight is dead to me. Pass it on." Before I can second-guess myself, I power down the phone, walk to the kitchen, and grab a bottle of the good bourbon from my office. The stuff I was saving for a real celebration. "Here's to family," I say to the empty dining room, raising the bottle. "Here's to loyalty. Here's to all the people who believe in your dreams, right up until it's inconvenient." I take a long pull straight from the bottle. It burns, but not as much as the hollow feeling in my chest. The family wall in my office mocks me from behind my desk. Photos of Danny and me as kids, my parents at their anniversary party, Sarah and me on our wedding day. She's laughing in that picture, head thrown back, completely unself-conscious. When did she stop laughing like that? When did I become the burden instead of the partner? I grab the first frame, Danny and me at his college graduation, arms around each other's shoulders. The glass shatters satisfyingly when it hits the brick wall. Then another, and another. 5 years of careful planning, of dreaming about this moment, and they couldn't spare 3 hours to pretend they cared. The bourbon makes everything clearer. They want to treat me like I don't exist? Fine. I can play that game better than they think. 3 days after the grand opening, I'm prepping vegetables for the lunch rush when Maria, my head waitress, bursts through the kitchen doors with her phone in her hand. "Tommy, you need to see this." The screen shows a Facebook post with over 200 shares already. The profile picture is some young woman I don't recognize, but her words make my blood freeze. "Do not eat at the Rusty Spoon." Got severe food poisoning there 2 nights ago. Still can't keep anything down. The chicken was clearly undercooked and the place looked dirty. How did this dump even pass inspection? Sharing to warn everyone I know. Food poisoning. Checked Rusty Spoon restaurant. Disgusting. 2 nights ago, I grabbed the phone. We weren't even open 2 nights ago. The grand opening was Saturday. "I know," Maria says, "but look at the comments." Dozens of people expressing shock and sympathy. Several saying they were planning to try the place, but definitely won't now. My neighbor's wife commenting that she always had a bad feeling about that location. By noon, we've had 3 cancellations. By evening, the local food blogger has picked up the story. By the next morning, there's a review on Yelp from someone claiming they saw rats in the bathroom. "This is insane," I tell Detective Morrison when I finally get through to someone at the police station. These people have never been in my restaurant. I have security cameras, receipts, everything. This is clearly fake. I understand your frustration, Mr. Walsh, Morrison says in the tone of someone who's dealt with this before. But unless you can prove these reviews are part of some coordinated attack, there's not much we can do. Have you considered hiring a private investigator? That's how I end up in the cramped office of Jack Brennan, ex-cop turned PI, whose idea of interior decorating apparently involves covering every surface with case files and empty coffee cups. Social media sabotage, Jack says, leaning back in his creaky chair. More common than you'd think. Usually it's competitors trying to hurt business, but sometimes it's personal. You piss anyone off lately? I think about my text to Sarah about the way I've been avoiding her calls all week. Maybe. Well, let's find out. I'll need access to your business accounts, security footage from the opening night, and a list of anyone who might have a grudge. The list is shorter than I'd like to admit. A few former employees who left on bad terms, the landlord of my previous location who tried to screw me on the lease, and then there's family, but they wouldn't go this far, would they? Jack's preliminary report comes back 3 days later. The Facebook woman doesn't exist. The profile was created 2 weeks ago with stock photos. The Yelp reviewer used a VPN to hide their location. Someone paid for this, and they knew enough about my opening schedule to time it perfectly. Whoever did this knows you personally, Jack says, sliding a folder across his desk. They knew when you were opening, they knew your restaurant's name before you went public with it, and they knew exactly how to hurt you most. This isn't random. That night, I'm closing up alone again. Business has been dead since the posts went viral. When I find the recording device, it's small, professional grade, stuck under the host station, where someone could have planted it during the chaos of opening night. The kind of thing you'd use if you wanted to record private conversations, maybe catch someone saying something incriminating about food safety or business practices. But here's the thing about recording devices. They work both ways. I take it home and plug it into my laptop. Most of the audio is just restaurant noise. But there's one conversation that makes my hands shake with rage. Two voices, whispering near the host station during the opening night cleanup. Are you sure this will work? Trust me. A few fake reviews, some social media buzz, and he'll be finished within a week. The location will be available again, and we can move forward with our plans. I know those voices. I've been hearing them my whole life. One is my brother Danny. The other is my wife. I don't confront them immediately. That's what the old Tommy would have done. Burst into Danny's apartment demanding explanations. Called Sarah screaming about betrayal. But the old Tommy got walked all over. The old Tommy trusted people who were planning his destruction. The new Tommy is smarter. Instead, I call Jack and tell him what I found. We spend 2 days verifying the voices, tracing the purchase of the recording device, and building a case that would make any lawyer proud. Sarah bought the device with her credit card. Danny's phone GPS shows he was at the restaurant during opening night, even though he told me he couldn't make it. What's your end game here? Jack asks, as we sit in his car outside Sarah's advertising agency. You want to take this to the police, or handle it yourself? I want them to pay, I say. Really pay. Not just a slap on the wrist or a fine. I want their lives turned upside down the way they turned mine upside down. Jack gives me a look. Be careful, Tommy. Revenge has a way of eating people alive. They already ate me alive. Now it's my turn. The plan starts simple. Sarah works for Hartwell & Associates, a mid-sized advertising firm that prides itself on ethical business practices. Their biggest client is a family restaurant chain that's very particular about their public image. What would they think? If they knew one of Hartwell's senior executives was orchestrating fake review campaigns. I start with anonymous emails to Sarah's boss, copying in the restaurant chain's marketing director. Professional, factual, with just enough evidence to raise questions. The beauty of having a PI on your side is that everything looks official and credible. While that's percolating, I turn my attention to Danny. His new promotion came with a significant salary increase and a company car. It also came with a morality clause in his contract, something about maintaining the company's reputation and avoiding any activities that could reflect poorly on their brand. Danny's company is very active on social media. They love posting about their corporate values, their commitment to fair business practices, their support for small businesses in the community. How would their followers react to learning that one of their senior consultants was sabotaging his own brother's restaurant? I create a detailed timeline of events, complete with audio evidence, security footage, and financial records, showing the coordinated timing of the fake reviews. Then I package it all up in a neat little presentation and send it to Danny's HR department, his direct supervisor, and the company's social media manager. But I'm not done, not even close. The recording device picked up something else, a conversation between Sarah and someone I didn't recognize at first. It took me 3 days of listening to figure out it was Marcus Webb, her coworker and the account manager for that family restaurant chain. Once Tommy's place fails, Sarah's voice says on the recording, we can pitch the Riverside location to the Hendersons. They've been looking for a new spot for their flagship restaurant. And you're sure your husband won't be a problem? Marcus asks. Tommy's a dreamer, not a fighter. Once he realizes he's beaten, he'll slink away quietly. He always does. That conversation was recorded 3 days before my opening. They weren't just sabotaging my restaurant. They were planning to profit from its failure. Marcus Webb has a nice life. Expensive apartment in the trendy part of town, flashy car, active social media presence where he brags about his success and posts photos of expensive meals and weekend trips. He's also married to a woman who clearly has no idea that her husband spends his lunch breaks at Sarah's apartment. I know this because I've been following him for a week. The photos I've taken would make any divorce lawyer very happy. Marcus and Sarah having intimate lunches at restaurants across town. Marcus's car parked outside Sarah's building on Tuesday afternoons when her husband is supposedly at work. The two of them shopping together for what looks suspiciously like an engagement ring. They think they're so clever, planning my downfall while planning their future together. They forgot one crucial detail. I'm a chef. I know how to plan a perfect meal, from appetizer to dessert. And I know how to serve it cold. The Hartwell and Associates monthly staff meeting is held in their glass conference room on the 15th floor, visible from the street if you know where to look. I know because I've been watching the building for 3 days, learning their schedules, figuring out the perfect timing. Sarah's presentation to the Henderson restaurant chain is scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m. She's been working on it for weeks, staying late at the office, practicing her pitch. She thinks she's about to land the biggest account of her career. She's about to be very disappointed. At 1:45 p.m., I walk into the Hartwell lobby, wearing a delivery uniform and carrying a large catering box. The security guard barely glances at me. Delivery guys are invisible in places like this. Catering for the Henderson meeting, I tell the receptionist. Oh, I don't think we ordered. Sarah Walsh requested it personally, I interrupt, showing her the fake receipt Jack helped me create. Said it was crucial for the presentation. The receptionist calls upstairs, and I hear Sarah's confused voice through the phone. But she's too polite to make a scene in front of her colleagues, so she tells them to send me up. The conference room is packed when I arrive. Sarah looks mortified but tries to play it off professionally. I'm sorry, everyone. There seems to be some confusion about catering. No confusion at all, I say, opening the box with a flourish. I brought something special for everyone. Inside the box are copies of the recording device transcripts, printed on professional letterhead. The conversation between Sarah and Marcus, with timestamps and audio analysis, photos of their lunch dates, financial records showing the fake review campaign. But the centerpiece is a beautifully decorated cake with "Congratulations on your ethics investigation," written in elegant script frosting. What the hell are you doing? Sarah hisses, but it's too late. Her colleagues are already reading the documents, their faces shifting from confusion to shock to disgust. Marcus tries to grab the papers, but I'm ready for that. Careful there, Marcus. Wouldn't want to damage evidence in a fraud investigation. The Henderson restaurant chain representatives look like they've swallowed something sour. Their marketing director, a stern woman in her 50s, stands up slowly. Ms. Walsh, is this true? Did you orchestrate fake reviews against a competitor to benefit our account? Sarah's face goes white. I can explain. No need, the marketing director says. We'll be terminating our contract with Hartwell immediately. We don't do business with companies that engage in these practices. As I leave the building, I can hear shouting from the 15th floor. Through the glass walls, I watch Sarah gesticulating frantically, while her boss points toward the door. My phone buzzes with angry texts from her, then from Danny, then from my parents. Word travels fast in a small family. But I'm not done. This was just the appetizer. Danny's company, TechFlow Solutions, holds their
He just gave me a massage. That's it!
Remember, I won't be a cuckold!
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
weekly all-hands meeting every Friday at 4 p.m. It's streamed live on their company Facebook page as part of their transparency initiative. They love showing off their open office culture, their diverse team, their commitment to community values. This Friday's meeting is going to be very memorable. At 3:55 p.m., I'm sitting in my car outside TechFlow's building, laptop open, watching their live stream. Danny is visible in the background, chatting with colleagues, completely unaware of what's about to happen. At exactly 4 p.m., their social media manager starts getting tagged in posts across multiple platforms. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, all featuring the same content. Audio clips of Danny's voice from the recording device, mixed with photos of him at my restaurant on opening night, time-stamped to prove he was there while claiming to be somewhere else. But the real masterpiece is the video I had Jack help me create. It's a documentary-style presentation called When Family Betrays the Rusty Spoon Story. Professional graphics, emotional music, a timeline of events that would make any prosecutor proud. The video includes security footage of Danny planting the recording device, audio of him planning the fake review campaign, and financial records showing payments to the fake reviewers, traced back to an account he shares with Sarah. Within minutes, TechFlow's livestream chat is flooded with comments about the video. Employees are pulling it up on their phones, whispering to each other, staring at Danny with a mixture of shock and disgust. The company's CEO, a man who's built his reputation on ethical business practices, stops mid-sentence when someone hands him a tablet showing the video. Danny Walsh, he says, his voice carrying clearly through the live stream, please come to my office immediately. I watch Danny's face go from confusion to horror as he realizes what's happening. He tries to leave quietly, but it's too late. The damage is done, broadcast live to hundreds of viewers, and recorded for posterity. By 5 p.m., Danny is unemployed. By 6 p.m., the story has been picked up by local business blogs. By 7 p.m., my parents are calling, demanding I come over to explain myself. You've lost your mind, my mother says when I walk into their living room. This is your brother we're talking about. Your family. My family? I laugh, and it doesn't sound entirely sane. Where was my family when I needed them? Where were they when I was being destroyed? We didn't know, my father starts. You didn't want to know, I interrupt. It was easier to assume I was failing on my own than to consider that maybe, just maybe, someone was sabotaging me. Danny is there too, looking like he hasn't slept in days. Tommy, please, you have to understand. I understand perfectly. I pull out my phone and play the recording of his voice. Trust me, a few fake reviews, some social media buzz, and he'll be finished within a week. The silence in the room is deafening. The location will be available again, and we can move forward with our plans, Danny's recorded voice continues. What plans? My father asks quietly. Danny won't meet his eyes. Sarah and we had investors interested in the location. They wanted to put in a franchise restaurant, and they were willing to pay well above market rate for the lease. So you destroyed your brother's dream for money, my mother says, her voice barely a whisper. It wasn't supposed to hurt him this badly, Danny says desperately. We thought he'd just give up and find another location. You thought I was weak, I finish. You thought I'd roll over and take it like I always do. I look around the room at my family, really look at them. My parents, who raised me to be honest and hardworking. Danny, who used to be my best friend. They're all staring at me like I'm a stranger. You want to know the difference between the old Tommy and the new Tommy? I ask. The old Tommy would have forgiven you, would have found a way to make excuses for you, to keep the family together no matter what. I head toward the door, then turn back. The new Tommy knows that some betrayals can't be forgiven, and some dishes are best served cold. Marcus Webb likes to work out at an upscale gym downtown every morning at 6 a.m. Likes to post about it on Instagram with motivational quotes about success and dedication. He has no idea I've been tracking his routine for 2 weeks. This morning, I'm waiting in the parking lot when he comes out, sweaty and satisfied, checking his phone for likes on his latest post. He doesn't notice me until I'm standing right next to his BMW. Hello, Marcus. He jumps, nearly dropping his phone. Jesus, you scared me. What are you doing here? Waiting to have a conversation with the man who's been sleeping with my wife while helping her destroy my business. His face goes through several interesting color changes. I don't know what you're talking about. I hold up my phone, showing him a photo of him and Sarah kissing outside her apartment building. Really? Because I have about 50 more where that came from. Look, Tommy. No, you look. I step closer, and he backs against his car. You thought you were so clever, didn't you? Seduce the lonely wife. Help her sabotage the inconvenient husband. Profit from his failure. Very neat. Very clean. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. I pull out an envelope thick with photographs. Your wife might be interested in these, or maybe your boss, or maybe the local newspaper. They love a good scandal involving public figures. Marcus's hands are shaking as he flips through the photos. Him and Sarah at restaurants, at her apartment, shopping together. The evidence is overwhelming and undeniable. What do you want? He asks finally. I want you to understand something very clearly, I say. My restaurant is going to reopen next week. It's going to be successful. And if I hear even a whisper of interference from you or Sarah or anyone else, these photos go public. Do we understand each other? He nods frantically. Good. Oh, and Marcus, your car has a very nice paint job. Be a shame if something happened to it. I walk away, leaving him standing there, clutching the photos. Behind me, I hear the satisfying sound of his car alarm going off as I casually drag my keys across the hood. That afternoon, I'm at the Rusty Spoon preparing for the reopening when Sarah shows up. She looks terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, hair unwashed, clothes wrinkled like she slept in them. The confident, polished woman I married is gone, replaced by someone desperate and defeated. Tommy, we need to talk. No, we don't. I continue chopping vegetables, not looking at her. Please. I know you're angry, but... Angry? I set down the knife and finally meet her eyes. Sarah, angry doesn't begin to cover what I am. You didn't just betray me. You didn't just cheat on me. You tried to destroy everything I've worked for. You tried to steal my dreams and sell them to the highest bidder. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? You and Danny and Marcus were going to ruin me quietly, and I was supposed to just accept it? She starts crying, and for a moment, I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. I lost my job, she says. Danny lost his job. Marcus is getting divorced. His wife saw the photos somehow. Somehow, I repeat, that is unfortunate. You've destroyed our lives. No, I say, picking up the knife again. I've returned the favor. There's a difference. She stares at me like she's seeing me for the first time. What happened to you? You used to be kind. You used to forgive people. I used to be weak, I correct. I used to let people walk all over me because I was afraid of conflict. But you know what I learned, Sarah? Sometimes conflict is necessary. Sometimes people need to face consequences for their actions. So what now? You've had your revenge. What's next? I smile, and I can see it unsettles her. Next, I run my restaurant. I build the life I always wanted. And you, Danny, and Marcus get to live with the consequences of your choices. And us? Our marriage? What marriage? You destroyed that the moment you decided I was expendable. She leaves without another word, and I go back to my prep work. Tomorrow, the Rusty Spoon reopens with a completely different story. Instead of being the place that got shut down by fake reviews, it's now the restaurant whose owner fought back against sabotage and won. The local media loves a good underdog story, especially one involving family betrayal and corporate corruption. I've given 3 interviews already, always playing the role of the wronged but resilient small business owner who refuse to give up. Reservations are booked solid for the next month. 6 months later, the Rusty Spoon is thriving. We've been featured in the state's tourism magazine, won an award from the local business association, and have a waiting list for weekend reservations. The irony isn't lost on me that Sarah and Danny's sabotage ultimately made me more successful than I ever would have been on my own. The story of the restaurant owner who exposed his family's betrayal and fought back became local legend. People come here not just for the food, though the food is excellent, but for the story. They want to meet the chef who refused to be destroyed, who turned the tables on his enemies and came out stronger. I've become something of a local celebrity, which is both amusing and profitable. Sarah moved back in with her parents after the divorce was finalized. She's working part-time at a small marketing firm for half her previous salary. Danny took a job in another state, unable to find work locally after the scandal. Marcus is living in a studio apartment, paying substantial alimony to his ex-wife. My parents tried to reconcile us, of course. Family dinners where they begged me to forgive and forget, to be the bigger person. But some betrayals change you fundamentally. I'm not the same man who opened this restaurant a year ago, and I never will be again. The old Tommy would have felt guilty about destroying their lives. The new Tommy sleeps very well at night. Tonight is our 1-year anniversary celebration, not of the original opening, but of the reopening. The dining room is packed with local dignitaries, food critics, and regular customers who've become friends. The mayor's here, along with the editor of the food magazine that featured us on their cover. I'm making the rounds, thanking people for their support, when I see a familiar face in the corner booth. Jack Brennan, the PI who helped me build my case against Sarah and Danny, raises his beer in a mock toast. "Congratulations," he says when I stop by his table. "You got everything you wanted." "Did I?" I ask, genuinely curious about his perspective. Successful restaurant, local fame, enemies destroyed. Seems like a complete victory to me. I consider this. You know what the funny thing is? I thought revenge would feel different, more satisfying somehow. And it doesn't? Oh, it's satisfying, I say. But it's also empty. I won, but I lost my family in the process. I got justice, but I became someone I'm not sure I like very much. Jack nods thoughtfully. Revenge is like that. You think it'll fill the hole they left, but it just creates a different kind of hole. Any regrets, I ask? He considers this seriously. About helping you? No. They had it coming and you did everything legally. But I've seen what revenge does to people, Tommy. Don't let it consume you. Too late for that, I say, but I'm smiling. As the evening winds down and the last customers leave, I stand alone in my restaurant, looking at everything I've built. The exposed brick walls, the Edison bulb fixtures, the reclaimed wood tables, all exactly as I'd envisioned. The dream I fought so hard to protect. It's beautiful. It's successful. It's everything I wanted, and it's not enough. Because here's the thing about revenge. It's a dish that satisfies in the moment, but leaves you hungry for something more. I destroyed the people who betrayed me, but I also destroyed the man I used to be. The kind, forgiving person Sarah fell in love with, the trusting brother Danny grew up with. That person is gone, replaced by someone harder and colder and infinitely more dangerous. I pour myself a glass of the good bourbon and raise it to the empty dining room. Here's to family, I say, echoing the toast I made a year ago. Here's to loyalty. Here's to learning that sometimes the people who claim to love you are the ones who'll hurt you most. The bourbon burns less now. I've developed a taste for it. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Saw the article in the magazine. Congratulations. You deserve all your success. Sarah. I stare at the message for a long moment, then delete it without responding. Some conversations are over, some bridges are burned beyond repair, and some people become strangers, even when you've known them your whole life. Tomorrow I'll open the restaurant again. I'll smile at customers, prepare beautiful meals, and play the role of the successful chef who overcame adversity. And it won't be entirely an act. I am successful. I did overcome adversity, and I do take pride in what I've built. But late at night, when the restaurant is closed and I'm alone with my thoughts, I sometimes wonder if there was another way. A path that didn't require becoming someone I barely recognize, that didn't demand sacrificing my capacity for forgiveness on the altar of justice. Then I remember Sarah's voice on that recording. Tommy's a dreamer, not a fighter. Once he realizes he's beaten, he'll slink away quietly. He always does. And I know I made the only choice I could live with. The old Tommy would have slunk away quietly. The old Tommy would have absorbed the betrayal, found excuses for their behavior, maybe even blamed himself for not being successful enough to deserve their loyalty. The new Tommy fought back. The new Tommy won. And if that victory came at the cost of becoming someone harder, colder, and more ruthless than I ever intended to be, well, that's the price of refusing to be destroyed. I finish my bourbon, turn off the lights, and lock the door behind me. Tomorrow brings new customers, new challenges, new opportunities to prove that Thomas Walsh is not a man to be underestimated. The people who betrayed me learned that lesson too late, but they learned it thoroughly, and that, I've discovered, is a satisfaction that never gets old.